Hi everybody, this is Liz with 143 Handmade, and I am here today to for Mess Make Monday. And today's is going to be a little bit different because it's kind of a mess make, kind of not. I'm just going to be fussy cutting a lot of these images out. I'm going to have a couple of books too that I was going to potentially get to some of those. We'll see how long it takes. I'm going to open my other phone up so I have a clock right there in my face to tell me how long I've been yammering and cutting away. There we go. Okay, so yeah, for today's Mess Make Monday, we're just going to kind of hang out and talk about, you know, plans for the channel for the next month or so, and changes that are going to be coming as I do this fussy cutting. And I don't really do like the proper fussy cutting, I guess, where you're actually cutting like right on the image. I tend to do kind of, I guess it's called kiss cutting. I'm not really sure what the terms are, but I just kind of loosely cut around it. Like this leaf has a lot of little ups and downs. If I tried to do that, I'd end up cutting it, ripping it, something. You know, instead of getting in there to all of those, I'm just going to kind of come loose and do this, you know. I mean, it'll still look good. And I mean, I can always go back with my X-Acto later if I really want to get the image super tight. I usually do it this way with the scissors. And then if I want precision, I do move on to the precision knife. I found that easier than trying to get precision with scissors. But that's just me. You know, we gotta each do what makes sense to us with our hands and minds the way that we are. But anyways, so my plans are for the next, for December, is I am going to try and do the ephemerim herb. You know, go ahead and use that in your bloopers reel, guys. I'm sure I will practice this word and get better at saying it. But it's a December daily making ephemera instead of purchasing it, but actually making it. And there's daily prompts, and apparently there's going to be some giveaways. I'm not really sure about that part. I'm just in it for the prompts because I'm going to be so frazzled with everything else I'm going to be doing, gifts and whatnot, that by doing a December daily, you know, open collab like this, I'm going to be able to put out quite a bit of videos, but I don't have to, you know, decide what each one's going to be. I don't have to come up with the topic. So that's going to be my little cheat for this year. Next year for the holidays, I'm just going to have a bunch of stuff pre-recorded. That's my plan anyways. But as far as changes for next year, I do plan to do, I've been doing mostly, or actually exclusively, paper crafts up until this point. But I actually do quite a bit of different things. I sew, I paint, I sculpt, I make miniature, like garden, fairy garden type stuff, sculptures, and we have 40 acres in Oklahoma that we're kind of sort of trying to homestead. It's, you know, a very slow process, and we're not really sure what we're doing. But we do, we raise a couple of pigs every year. Hope to get a breeding mated pair soon. You know, hope to get chickens, you know, the whole bit. We have a couple of ponies. So it's kind of a farm. But, you know, it's a work in progress. And so there's going to be some stuff on that, on our progress there. How we're building a fence for really, really cheap. It's labor intensive, but it's really, really cheap. So it's one of those things, you know, if you have the money to just pay somebody else to do your fence, you're obviously not going to want this. But if you want a really solid fence on the cheap, this will be something that'll interest you. I'm going to, I garden a little bit every year. I hope to expand, you know, I try and expand every year, but Because of lack of quality fencing, we've really struggled with gardening because we have bunnies, we have possums, but the biggest problem actually has been our neighbors' cows, because they just come over and in a single evening I'm eating out, like everything, months worth of work just gone, you know. And so I got really, really discouraged, and I really haven't I haven't done as much as I did since that year because it was so discouraging. But you know, I do a little bit each year, and I'm finding nooks and crannies that the cows can't get into, and we're getting more and more of this fence built. So hopefully soon we'll have an area that the pigs can't get into. And for that matter, we do have a couple of ponies, and one of them, Lightning, he's super funny because he's an escape artist. He can pretty much get out of any fence. And he stays here because he wants to. He basically moved in without anybody's permission anyways. Because he was he was my mother-in-law's horse, or he is my mother-in-law's horse. It's a confusing situation. But I don't know who exactly owns him at this point, but he was down there with her. And we didn't have any fencing up here at all at that point. And he just kept, like every morning for weeks, he was just out in the front yard. And we have blackberry bushes down here. And blackberries aren't the greatest thing for a horse to eat, but he's a forester horse, which just means that he eats more than your average horse does, and is totally good with that. He thrives on that. And or pony, but he really likes blackberries, and so he kept coming down here to the blackberry patch. And then we got a tie out. We obviously can't keep a horse on a tie out for any length of time. And our pony, I keep saying horse, but you know, technically he's right on that cusp where, you know, some people say horse, some people say pony. I don't really know. It doesn't really matter to me. He's big enough to hurt me. I have to be careful around him. That's what matters, you know. He's super sweet and everything, but you know, I mean, there's accidents, and if you startle him and all that, but yeah, he just kind of moved in. He just kind of decided to be here, and we did what we had to do to fence him in very quickly, and we've just been kind of spot fetching the fence since then. And he was an only pony there for a minute, which is not ideal. And then my brother and sister-in-law, my husband's brother, got this horse named Sedona, and she wasn't a great fit over there for his herd. She was a rescue situation. I don't know exactly what her backstory was, but it wasn't great. And then she ends up over there, and his horses, because she is a pony, and she's finely built. You know, she has little tiny ankles, and you know, very fine boned. And he's got horses, good sized horses. You know, I can't even see over their backs, kind of horses. And I'm 5'5", so I'm not super short. I'm not tall, but I'm not short either. And but his were kind of being mean to her and picking on her and stuff, and so he suggested bringing her over here to be company for Lightning, and we decided to give it a shot, and they get along. They're not like super best friends, but they get along great, and they run and play, and it's a way better situation for her than being over there. So that's kind of how we got them. And but they do get out on occasion. Lightning, like I said, he's an escape artist, and you know, we don't have a quality fence that's completely around his area. It's getting better. And there are sections that are completely solid that he cannot get out of, but there are sections that it's high enough that he can just lay down and he'll squirm on his back, on his side, whatever, and he'll just squirm around until he's under the fence. And there's also a section that's barbless wire, and you know how you just step through it by like pushing two of the strands apart. You know, as a human, you just step through it, you bend down. Yeah, he totally does that. It's weird. It's something I wish I could get on camera, but he never does it like when he knows that you're watching. But I've caught glimpses, so I know what he's doing. But he's very smart, and he's got very good hearing, so it's not easy to sneak up on him. I need to get a GoPro so I can start recording his antics outside, because that way I can just set it up and walk away. But yeah, he gets out, and he'll, on occasion, he never goes anywhere. Well, every once in a while he'll give us a good run. He'll run down the road a little bit. But it's like he just wants to run for just a minute. And he's kind of old. not super old, but he's in his 20s. Him and my daughter are the same age. And they were born the same year. And so, but for 20s, for a horse that hasn't had a pristine life, he's not been a pampered stable horse. He's showing his age lately, so he doesn't run far. But he will occasionally just go for a run. And sometimes, I'll just look outside and he's just standing on the porch. And yes, you heard me right, on the porch. So, which is less than ideal, obviously. But he's a big sweetheart. He loves hugs. He would never intentionally hurt anybody, but he's a big guy. Well, I guess not a big guy as far as horses go, but he's the biggest guy that we have around here. And so, we watch our stuff around him and that kind of stuff. He does do this one silly thing where he will, he only does it to me when I have my steel toe boots on. If I just go out there in my tennis shoes, he will not do this. But he will place a hoof when I'm not paying attention, ever so gently down on my foot, so I'm not, startled by it or whatever, so I don't notice. And he'll feel for that steel toe, right down at the toe, and he'll line his hoof up so it's on the steel toe, and then he'll step down, which pins your foot in place, right? So you can't move, and like you'll go to walk away from him, and then you thunk back into his side, and he just throws his head up in the most hilarious silent pony laugh, and he just gets this big old grin on his face. He loves to play practical jokes like that, or to trip people, or he just does silly things, but it's not, there's absolutely no harm meant. He just, when he likes you, he can be downright mean and scary if he feels threatened, but that's kind of a good thing. But he's a good boy. But he got out one time and got into my garden, and where I thought that the cows couldn't get to it, turns out the cows couldn't get to it, because Lennon does not like cows. And so, well, that's not entirely true. He just likes to make cows run. He likes to herd cows. And so whenever they come over and they get into his area, he runs them off. And so one side of the garden was on his fence, and I didn't think about him being able to get through it, to the garden. But sure enough, he did. But I hope to have more videos of the ponies and their antics, and then just farm life, the gardening, the good and the bad, just a lot of different things. I hope to really broaden my topic base after the first of the year. Because paper crafting, I think, is my first love, crafting wise right now, but even that changes over the years. For a while it was it was crocheting. For a while before that, it was knitting, painting, sculpting. I've gone through a lot of different phases as an artist, and I think paper crafting is where, maybe mixed media, it would be the better term. Because I don't stick to just paper with my paper crafting. I like to add paint. I like to add texture paste, you know, little wood chips. Not like shavings or anything, but like the wood shapes. Metal zippers. I sculpt with Sculpey, you know, like polymer clays for the most part. But I would love to get into more natural clays and do some pottery. I hope to harvest some clay because we have some really, really heavy clay soil. And so I hope to harvest some clay and naturally and make some large outdoor pots with it. Hopefully next year. I'm not sure how far I will get in all of these ideas because in the summertime I really, really slow down. I do not deal well with the heat. So, you know, I always have big plans, big ideas, but then the summer comes and I'm just like, I can't move. I can't go outside or I'll turn into a lobster. You know, let's see. I've been yammering for about 15 minutes now. So, I was hoping I was going to aim for about 30 minutes, see how much I get done in that time. But yeah, in the summertime, the sun and I don't deal well with the sun. I burn so easily. And I have asthma too, so like in the summertime, I just can't breathe, can't move, can't be in direct sunlight. It's kind of like, just let me sleep. Let me sleep till it cools off again. Can I do reverse hibernation? I hibernate through the summer. You know, it's a joke. We joke about that every year. My son and I both, because he feels the same way about summer. His skin doesn't burn quite as bad as mine. Yes, we have had sunburn comparisons over the years. He doesn't burn quite as bad or as deeply, but yeah, he doesn't like the summer either. I've always said that, well, not always, I guess, because before we moved here, before this whole opportunity to live here on my husband's family land, before my husband, I dreamt of living in Alaska. That was where I wanted to go. I wanted to go and see these mountains that Bob Ross was always painting and talking about. Wide open, big spaces, clean spaces, and not a lot of people. Just seemed idyllic to me, and I'm sure that it's, you know, it's rough in its way. You know, I've matured past the little kid dream there. But I would still love to go and see it at the very least at some point in my lifetime. That's really the only other place that I want to travel to. Now that my brother only lives an hour away, there's nobody that, you know, lives traveling distance away that's important enough to go visit. Well, I guess that's not entirely true, but you know what I mean, to dream about going on this vacation too, you know what I mean. Did I mention I'm not a huge people person? But yeah, so and then this opportunity came up, and you know, we came here. We're my husband and I are the third generation. Our kids are the fourth generation of a family to live on this land. And I think that means something in today's world where everything's so disposable, you know. And so, and it gets so cold in the wintertime, you know, even in a mild winter, it's usually icy, and I love that. So, and moving here was possible in a way that moving to Alaska just never really seemed like it would be. But you never know. But I can't imagine living anywhere else now. You know, this has been my home for, I don't know, over a decade now, at least. Getting closer to. I'm really bad at timeline stuff. I mean, I remember the events, but I don't remember the years, if that makes sense. My brain just doesn't track time that well. So you'll hear me say my kids are in their 20s. I'm 40-something. It's not because I'm trying to be obtuse and vague. It's like literally that's how my brain thinks about it, and I have to stop and do math to figure out the exacts, and I don't want to do that. Not while I'm trying to, you know, entertain and do this fussy cutting. But yeah, it's interesting the way that my brain tracks time. It doesn't even make sense to me. I can't like put it into words exactly. But so anyways, yeah, at this point I cannot imagine living anywhere but here. I want to live, we are wanting to move, but not off the property. We just, the house, the structure itself that we're in, is not ideal, and we need to upgrade our housing. But where we live is not going to change anytime soon, we don't think. Or at least that's the plan, you know. I'm not sure that we will ever live anywhere else, actually. My husband and I, that is. I'm pretty sure that the kids will all take off at some point. But I'm hoping at least one of them comes back, you know, and says, hey, I want it. I want the property. I want that responsibility. You know, maybe one of their grandkids when they start rolling in. Something like that. So that way the family land can roll over to a family member who really wants it, not just the family member that we left it to. You know, because there was a few minor issues when we took over the property, and because there was some misunderstanding in the family as to who had the right to say what about the land. And so it's all clear in black and white now. It's just my husband's and mine. It's, you know, it's all been worked out, but it was an issue. And so I don't want the kids to, you know, end up in a gray zone like that. And there be a question as to who wants it, who wants to be in charge, who wants to take care of it, who wants to, you know, take it and make their mark on it, help it grow in the way that they see fit. But because I want to get it to the point where the property is it doesn't have to be a huge moneymaker, but you know, helping us sustain our life instead of it costing us money. I want it to make us money. Not necessarily a lot of money, but you know, make it to where it's goes from being an expense to a profit. Even if it's not a huge profit, any profit is good. And the biggest issue that I keep bumping up against, whether it's the YouTube channel for the crafting, whether it's the local farmers market stuff, is marketing. I'm not a good marketer. I don't know where to market. I don't use all the right words. I'm not excited enough. I'm not much of a people person. Now, don't get me wrong, I can go and flutter around a party and you know, make polite, empty conversation with the best of them, but at the same time, I don't really have a lot of patience for that kind of emptiness on a regular basis. So that's part of why we live here. Why I'm so happy living here, being out here in the middle of nowhere. Our closest neighbor on the one side doesn't even live there full time. He lives there part-time, and then he lives part-time with his wife in the next little town over, because this is just too far out in the country for her. And so I don't know exactly what the arrangement is. I don't even know what nights he's out there. I know, like, consistently I can look out there and I can see his truck when he's there, because it's a bright red truck. But I don't have any idea unless I look out the door. And I can't even see it from my door. I have have to like go out my door and I have to walk over to the fence line and look to see if he's there. And it's sometimes it's hard to tell. And you know, we don't see him daily or by any means. And then my neighbor on the other side is my mother-in-law, and I do wish we were closer, but you know, life happens and takes you down twists and turns that you're not expecting, and all you can do is be open to, you know, getting back down a good path again when the opportunity arises. So, let's see, I think my daughter's creeping around behind me, maybe. Oh, no, maybe one of the cats. I don't know, I'm up late, and yammering away at you guys. So we're coming up on 30 minutes now, so don't forget to like and subscribe if you like what you hear about the ideas of coming up. Don't forget, I have my 100 subscriber giveaway video. Don't forget to go and check that out, and I will do my best to link that below. I'm not good at linking active links. I don't know why, but if you just highlight the whole thing, a lot of times you'll be able to just right click it or push and hold it, depending on if you're on your phone or tablet or whatever. But get that other little menu to pop up, and it'll ask you if you want to go to that website or follow the link or something of that nature, instead of it just being an active link. And I don't know why. That's one of those other little marketing tech things that I need help with, but I'm learning. I'll figure it out eventually. You know, my brain may work in strange ways, but it sometimes takes me a minute to get certain things. But once I got it, now what have I been talking about? I was going to say once I got it, but no, that's not true either. You know, I have forgotten all kinds of stuff about crochet and knitting that I have to like relearn every time I pick up the needles. But yeah, I've been knitting since I was a little kid. My mom knew how to knit, so she taught me how to knit when I was little. And it's one of those like things I'm not even sure like when I learned, because I was just so young. I just always could do it, right? Which obviously I couldn't, but you know, that's the perception. And I'm not a great knitter. I knit super slow. I much prefer crochet now that I've learned that. But yeah, and cross stitch and all kinds of stuff. So you'll be seeing all kinds of new stuff coming. Thank you so much. I'm just rambling as I cut out this last butterfly super quick, and then I'm gonna hit the button. So there we are, almost around the bend. Shoop, shoop, there we go. Thank you so much.